On today's show, the Florida Panthers are now Stanley Cup betting favorites after a Game 1 beatdown of the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll preview tonight's Oilers vs. Stars Game 1 of the West Final, and the Mitch Marner saga continues in Toronto.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome inside this Wednesday, May 21st edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. I'm Ross Levitan. You can find me 5 days a week over at Locked On Senators alongside Mike DiStefano from Locked On Maple Leafs. Thank you to the everydayers making us your first listen each and every day all across the Locked On Podcast Network, where we have your team every day. Mikey, I'm sure that since the Toronto Maple Leafs were eliminated Game 7 against the Florida Panthers, the conversation on Locked On Leafs has been primarily about Mitch Marner. Is it fair to call it a saga? What's going on there?
I mean, I guess, yeah, if you're calling it from the beginning of the season onward. Either way, it's going to be a hell of an off season in Leafland. I mean, Dave and I were pretty bummed, obviously, that the Maple Leafs flamed out early again, another round 2 exit. But it should be an entertaining offseason, that's for sure. And Mitch Marner is clearly kind of the main piece that everyone's looking at. He's an unrestricted free agent. He did not want to negotiate with the team once the season started. There was obviously the report that the Leafs had gone to him asking if he'd be willing to waive his no trade clause and report a deal to land Mikko Rantanen at the deadline. He said no, and ultimately said no, and then didn't deliver in the playoffs. And now it's, well, where are things at? Like with Marner, is he ready to move on? Are the Leafs ready to move on? Or are they going to run this thing back again, just like they've done time and time and time again? That's kind of where things sit with the Maple Leafs right now.
So obviously, as a Senators fan, we have Blue Team Elimination Watch. For the last 7 years, it was literally all we had to look forward to. And of course, losing in the first round of the Leafs, full credit to them. They won the series. They were the better team. It was kind of a moment where I had a tongue-in-cheek note on Twitter, but I kind of meant it too. Like, where do you stand on this? Because it's 9 years of disappointment in the playoffs, not being able to get past the first 2 rounds, only getting to the second round twice, and losing the first time in 5 games, this time in 7 games. But they won the division. They won a round. They were up 2-0 on the Cats, and up in Game 3. They play a much more defensive, structured system under Craig Berube. They have the offensive weapons. Like, is there not a part of you that kind of sees a way forward to run it back? Or are the disappointments too much to overcome in that market?
Yeah, I think it's probably closer to the latter there. Like, your points are sound. Like, and absolutely, like it's a real conundrum here in Toronto because everyone admits to all of that. It was a good season. You can't say it wasn't. They won their division title for the first time truly since 1999. They got home ice advantage. They won a round against the Ottawa Senators. They took the defending cup champions to 7 games. Yes, all of that is true. But the same problems that have persisted over the last 9 years continue to be an issue in this postseason. And in order to get over that hump, like you can't just be satisfied with regular season success anymore. Like, okay, you won the division, you got home ice advantage, but you didn't use it to your advantage. You lost on home ice twice in that round against the Florida Panthers. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do when you get home ice advantage. That's what's supposed to give you that edge come postseason. And the 2 games they lost were just so incredibly disappointing. Game 5 and Game 7 were possibly 2 of the worst hockey games that the Leafs played at home all season long. And for it to come that late into a season, in the postseason, with your back up against the wall, especially Game 7, I mean, they got outshot. The shot attempts were 25-0 to start the game. In a do-or-die Game 7 on your home ice in front of your fans, and you get outshot 25-0 to start the game. It was just shocking to see. And I think after that, it's not that they lost, it's how they lost. And they went down without even swinging. And the same problem is persisting through the years. The stars continue to fade. I mean, it's now 0-6 in game sevens for this core. And the stat line reads, what, 2 assists for Mitch Marner in those, 3 assists for Austin Matthews in those. I have the stat right here. I'm going to try and pull it up really quickly. But William Nylander has not been all that great either in those games. He went pointless in the last 4 games of the series. So did John Tavares. Like, that's really ultimately the problem, is a lot of these guys continue just to fade and fade and fade. Yeah, here's the stats. In game sevens since 2018, since John Tavares got there, they're 0-6. Matthews has 3 points. Marner has 2 points. Nylander has 4 points. And Tavares has a couple of points as well. But ultimately, I don't think they can run it back with this same group. They've shown us through 9 years that this group as is, they can do a lot of things in the regular season, but they can't win when it matters most, and they can't get over the hump in the postseason. And I think after 9 years, you have to accept that and find a new mix. And ultimately, the easiest path to doing that is letting Mitch Marner walk to free agency and trying to find some. You're not going to find one player to make up Mitch Marner, clearly, but maybe you can find 3 players that can do what he can do and add a different element that this team has solely lacked over the years.
Yeah, so it comes down to element, eh? Because I think as an outsider, you just go, man, how are you going to lose a 102-point player and be better next season?
Yeah, I mean, I'll continue to go back. Now, it's not completely the same, but I'll continue to go back to the Florida Panthers when they won the Florida Panthers 4 years ago when they made the Tkachuk trade. That's coming off of a season in which they had won the President's Trophy. They got home ice. They won the division. They had home ice advantage, and they lost in the first round. And instead of looking at it and saying, hey, we had all this success, let's run it back, they identified that this mix can't get it done. And they traded Jonathan Huberdeau for Matthew Tkachuk. And at the time, I mean, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I recall us being like, wow, the Panthers got fleeced. They gave up 115 point Jonathan Huberdeau. They gave up a first-round pick and a prospect for what? For Matt Tkachuk. Good player, great player, but he's not a 100-point guy. But he was different, and he brought a different element and a different mix, and it just kind of allowed them to change how they operated. And then, Sam Bennett was brought in, Sam Reinhart was brought in, and they kind of just changed how they play a little bit. The no tax, cap relief definitely helps. I'll say that. But it all kind of started with, we're going to move on from this massive 100-point player, right? That was literally in the Hart Trophy conversation that same year for Matt Tkachuk. Good, great player, but was not what he is today. It was considered an absolute fleecing, but it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to that team. That's kind of what you're hoping the Leafs can try and find. They're not going to find replace his points, but if they can replace it, I think they just need change. Something needs to be different. It may not be as good or it may not be better on paper, but I think change itself can be good.
That's well said. I think change itself could be good for Mitch Marner too. We were talking on Locked On Sens about where Mitch Marner should go. Tongue in cheek, we said, should the Senators pursue him? The answer is obviously no, just in terms of having the cap space to do it and the reality that not changing his health card or driver's license outside of Ontario is enough to draw him to Ottawa. But I also think we settled on the fact that I think he would do well in a market where he can just be one of the guys. I think you can kind of tell in his interviews that sometimes he seems a little frustrated. And I think if he goes to a place, we highlighted Pilsy at Chicago, I had San Jose, as just you're playing with an elite young centerman. But even though there's always going to be pressure, especially with the amount of money he's going to sign for, I just think that the media attention, I think, is something that he in particular could probably benefit from stepping away from.
Probably. I think that's there.
Especially the hometown aspect too, right? Like even more of a fishbowl. Mem Cup with the London Knights. How many London Knights fans are Leaf fans? They saw this guy win championship and is like, hey, he's going to bring us the bigger cup.
Well, he went on to win a championship and played a pretty, vital part for Four Nations at Team Canada. And a lot of people looked at that and thought that could be a springboard for a new Mitch Marner. And he had a great back half of the regular season. but then all of a sudden the guy goes silent when they need him most. Games 4 through 7, he had 3 shots on goal, Ross.
Yeah,
3
even the
shots.
Ottawa series, he didn't do much games 4 through 7 or
I
6.
mean, you look at it from a points at 5-on-5 perspective. I think he had 6 points on the power play. He finished with 13, so he had 7 points at 5-on-5 throughout, the postseason here. And what they play 13 games, 7 points in 13 games. That's just it's not good enough for what's supposed to be a superstar. And when they went up 2-0, right, a chance to go up 3-0. They're in overtime in game 3 with a chance to go up 3-0. If they could just find a way for that line to come up with a goal, they go up 3-0. This is a different conversation. Like that series ends differently. I can almost guarantee it. But didn't happen. And
Nope.
now the Leafs and Mitch Marner and the fan base got to deal with the consequences of how everything kind of unfolded. And I just can't imagine or fathom that, Mitch Marner wants to really return, considering how he and his family have been treated. And I can't see Brad Treliving looking down, watching the performance he saw in games 5 and 7 and saying, yep, I got to run it back with this same group. I don't see how he does that.
For more on it, go check out Locked On Maple Leafs. I've got a team that I think Mitch Marner should go to. Seriously. And I'll tell you after the break, then we'll get into the teams that are remaining. The Panthers are now betting favorites. Do you like that? And the West Final, Oilers versus Stars. This is Locked On NHL, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. I'm snacking on pistachios right now. I love these. They're the oysters of the tree. You crack them open and you just get all the protein and fiber that your heart needs. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, get into Wonderful Pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you. Unsaturated fats help you feeling fuller longer. You go to the grocery store, they're front and center, and rightfully so. I love the lightly salted variety, but they got all sorts of flavors. And how about the no shells flavor? Something I've been doing recently is cutting them up and putting them in my yogurt in the morning. And that's so easy to do with the no shells variety. Whether you're on the go or just need a quick protein boost, go get in to some Wonderful Pistachios. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Welcome back, Locked On NHL. Shout out to the everydayers making us your first listen each and every day on the Locked On Podcast Network. We've got local experts on the biggest stories 5 days a week. Mike, I'm not even gassing this take. I truly mean it. What are the odds that Kyle Dubas signs Mitch Marner in Pittsburgh?
Oh, man. That would be.
He would.
Jeez. Do they have the space? Like, do they have?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
They've got the cap space to do something like that?
They can do it.
That would be interesting.
Penguins have $23 million in cap space, and the only free agents that they have right now are Philip Tomasino, Connor Dewar, Matt Nieto, bunch of minor league 2A guys, and Matt Grzelcyk. That's it.
Wow. Yeah, I would consider that to be an option then.
Yep.
For sure. I mean, Dubas knows what he can do.
Didn't he say he would bet his job on the core 4?
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Which obviously he did, and they failed, which cost him his job. Ultimately,
you brought up 4 Nations. Sidney
exactly.
Crosby.
That's what I mean. And to your point too, where it's like, he can go somewhere where he's not the guy. Maybe that's when he can come through. I mean, Crosby's the guy, right? Like Crosby's the one who's going to have to answer to the media, even Malkin, Levitan. Like there's just, such an insulated core there where Mitch Marner wouldn't necessarily have to be the guy or anything like that. Eventually he will, right? Though that's the thing. He'll be part of this retool and try and help bring them back to the playoffs. But then he will have to be the guy. And I mean, Marner, that's an interesting one. I hadn't thought about that, but I know that he did grow up. Big fan of Sid. to be able to play with him on a nightly basis, maybe try and win a couple of them. A quick retool for Pittsburgh here. That's a very interesting team.
And not only that, my final thought on being Pittsburgh is that a lot of their higher salary guys, especially look at Evgeny Malkin, is $6.1 million. He's going into the final year of that contract. Kevin Hayes is at 3.5 for a final year. He'll obviously be off the books.
Letang will be done soon.
Letang has 3 more years after.
He signed 5 years.
Yeah. Carlson has 2 more years at 10. So like obviously Marner's getting a 7-year deal if he leaves Toronto, but they could be able to not be cap struck or stuck after a year or two of him, right? So yeah. I'm looking at Pittsburgh. Like if I was putting FanDuel betting odds on this, Pittsburgh would be my favorite to land Mitch Marner.
That's an interesting name. That's an interesting team for sure. Chicago's kind of the first one that comes to mind. For me.
I know he's turned down, I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, but going to Columbus before, but that to me seems like a fit on ice.
There was a report that Columbus was willing to offer sheet Marner, and he said he wouldn't. He probably wouldn't accept it. But again,
and that was new management there now too. So
yeah. I mean,
but I do like the fit.
I'm sure they would like if all things are equal and Marner said, "Yeah, I'll come here at this price." They probably would meet it. To be fair,
a lot of teams would. So we'll leave it at that for now.
Do you think he lost a little bit of money at all throughout this postseason, though, or do you think he'll still be able to get top dollar? Like the number 14 is being thrown out there between 13 and 14. Did he lose money after this postseason, or do you think he'll still be able to get whatever because of the track record of him being so good and being a top 20 talent in the NHL?
Well, and not only that, but look at the wingers that are available right now. And I'm still of the mind. I know a lot of people throw out Sam Bennett's name, and this will kind of bring us into Florida right now. But the Panthers have enough space. Like they could pay Sam Bennett market value, and I think they could even potentially get him for less. But I'm more certain about anything in free agency that Sam Bennett is going to stay with the Panthers.
They could also pay Mitch Marner.
Wow, wouldn't that be something?
But
look, what I want to say about why Mitch Marner's not going to lose out on that money is that the only guy who's even in the same world, and even that is probably a stretch, is Nikolai Ehlers. Like there's not a big market for unrestricted free agent wingers this year. Ryan Donato, Brad Marchand, Brock Besser are probably the next best wingers in free agency, and no one even sniffs what Mitch Marner's put up on a consistent year-to-year basis. So I think he's going to be just fine. And in terms of points this past season of free agents, Matt Duchene is number 2 and John Tavares is number 3. Those guys are 34 years old. Mikael Granlund's 33. He had the 4th most points among forwards in this class at 66. It's not even close. Mitch Marner, because of that, there's going to be a bidding war, and he's going to make his money. But speaking of Sam Bennett, he scored last night, and the Florida Panthers got a beatdown win. I'm sure you guys have already listened to NHL Game Night on the Locked On NHL channel. If you haven't, go check that out. And let's discuss why they're the betting favorites, plus 170 right now to win the Stanley Cup. Is that apropos to you? The Edmonton Oilers are plus 240, the Stars plus 280, and the Hurricanes are now plus 470 after losing game 1 at home.
Yeah, makes sense. Just simply because they only need 7 more wins to win a Stanley Cup, where all the other teams need 8 more wins to get there. So I'm guessing that's a big reason for it. But they showed again last night why they are the champs and why they are making a 3rd straight trip to the Stanley Cup final. They're just a relentless team that has depth and scoring all throughout. They've got terrific goaltending. Special teams have been fantastic, and they just are an all around complete team. And there's not a lot of those
pain in the ass to play against.
And just an absolute pain in the ass to play against. So
how about Brad Marchand last night?
Well, Marshy actually finally.
I don't blame him
for himself. I don't blame him either. I mean, someone shoots a puck at me, I'm probably going to be upset about it also.
Who would ever do that in a playoff game?
Yeah, what kind of idiot would shoot a puck at someone in a playoff game? You know what I'm saying?
A future Hall of Famer at that.
Yeah. But I actually kind of did. I appreciate Marchand sticking up for himself.
How about Gossip's fair being like, "What are you doing?" It's like, buddy, you know what you did.
Exactly. Like there was more. Definitely, I think Marchand had a reason to be upset
Yeah.
and go after Gostisbehere, getting a little tussle.
Yeah. If you missed the play, Marchand on the forecheck just laid it. He didn't even make the hit. Like he missed
I
him.
missed.
Then Gostisbehere gets the puck up and he doesn't really have a play to make. So instead, he kind of re-angles his body and fires a puck at Marchand, who's like 5 feet away. So Marchand hit the eject button on his gloves ASAP.
Yeah. And it's not a guy who fights a lot. Like Marshy doesn't really drop the mitts a whole lot, but I do appreciate that he stuck up for himself. And that's like Panther culture though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that's just like you're not gonna mess with us. Like that's not how this is gonna work out here. And I kind of loved it, to be honest. I thought the Panthers show that they're the better team last night. And the most wild stat, I'm sure you've seen it, is the fact that the Carolina Hurricanes have now lost 13 straight Eastern Conference final games. They were swept in each of their last 3 trips to the Eastern Conference final and then lost last night. So that's 13 games in a row that they've lost now in the third round of the playoffs. That is quite a staggering stat.
You've piqued my interest on Brad Marchand fights. His last 4 fights, so since 2020, have been, I don't want to call them hilarious opponents, but I won't not call it that. His last fight was against Joel Hanley. Tough guy. Give him that. Before that, Fabian Zetterlund, he fought.
Okay.
Before that, Vladislav Nemesnikov.
Okay.
And before that, Nikolai Ehlers.
So you're just fighting all these, small skilled Europeans.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. There's a guy who's going to make some money this offseason based on his playoff performance. And on the other side, playoff performances have been spread out this year for the Edmonton Oilers, which we haven't been able to say a whole lot. Usually it's McDavid and Draisaitl, but it feels like the roles are reversed because the Dallas Stars have been relying on the Finnish Mafia, and namely Mikko Rantanen. Let's get a preview of the West Final beginning tonight. You're Locked On NHL, your team every day. Welcome back, Locked On NHL, your team every day. Shout out to the everydayers making us your first listen each and every day. If you enjoyed the video, click thumbs up on YouTube and give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Local experts on the biggest stories. We also have NHL Game Night, which has been an awesome addition to the channel where you get immediate reaction. It'll be in your podcast feeds when you wake up in the morning, and then you get your daily Locked On NHL in the afternoon. So don't miss an episode and get Locked On NHL by clicking subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms. I got to admit it, I'm an Ottawa guy, but the Edmonton Oilers are my favorite team to watch. Those guys play high-flying hockey. It's never a dull moment. They might even get a big boost defensively. Matthias Ekholm's been ruled out for tonight, but he's back skating, man. And it felt like he was maybe out for the playoffs, but they've now gone on a run. How do you think that could impact this series? Because Dallas went with this going into last round and the first round without Miro Heiskanen. He's back. Jason Robertson's back. They're healthy, but now it's the Oilers here that are coming in with an already elite team. And now they're adding potentially an elite defender to the mix.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I think this thing's gonna go 7 games. I really do, and I'm having a tough time handicapping who's gonna win that 7th game is the problem, because I keep going back and forth. Both of these teams are just so good. I do think that they are 2 of the best teams remaining here, 2 of the best teams in the league, and I'm glad that this is the Western Final that we're getting, because it's going to be fantastic. But it just feels as though, like Connor McDavid, what we saw last year, how he willed that team to a Game 7 and a Stanley Cup final and lost in, the fashion they did. It feels like he is on a mission this year to get it done and get back there and get another crack at the Florida Panthers. And if they do that, then I believe that they will ultimately come through and bring a cup back to Canada. But they got to get through the Dallas Stars, man. Got to get through them. And to me, the big X factor here is what Stuart Skinner are we going to see? Is it going to be the Stuart Skinner that blanked the Vegas Golden Knights in back-to-back games to win that series and move on to the conference final? or is it going to be the Stuart Skinner who got yanked after not being able to stop a beach ball in the first few games in the Kings series? So that to me is going to really dictate how this plays out. You're going to get great goaltending from Jake Ottinger. So to me, Stuart Skinner is the X factor here. Depending on how he performs, is going to depend on whether or not the Oilers will get that chance to try and go and continue on to try and win a cup for Canada.
The Oilers are clicking on all cylinders. It feels like a while ago, but remember, they were down 2-0 in their series to the LA Kings in round one. Since then, they're 8-1 with a +14 goal differential, and their only loss was with 1 second left in the game against Vegas. Other than that, they've been unbeatable so far. And to do that with Connor McDavid only having 3 goals in 11 games, I think is a very dangerous proposition. And how about 16 of McDavid's 17 points this postseason have been at even strength? This guy has been able to contribute at even strength. Usually it's the Oilers power play. It's been automatic. They actually haven't been that great in the postseason. So I'm looking at a team that still has room to grow. And we say hasn't been great. They're still 25% tie or 6th in the league in the postseason. But I'm looking at this Oilers team as being kind of the team to beat because Dallas is relying on Mikko Rantanen so much. He leads the NHL in points this postseason. He has 9 more points than the next forward on Dallas, which is Rope Hintz, who obviously has contributed on those same goals on the same line as Mikko Rantanen. But they're going to need Wyatt Johnston to get going. He's a -13 in 13 games, only 4 goals, 4 assists. And they haven't gotten anything from Matt Duchene, Tyler Sagan, Jamie Benn. Those 3 have combined for 3 goals this entire playoffs. Matt Duchene is still looking for his first goal, and those are players that need to be producing for the Dallas Stars to have a chance to win. Jamie Benn's got 3 points, -6 in 13 games, and what Dallas has is depth, but they're not using it the way that Edmonton is right now. When you look at the Corey Perrys of the world, who have been just on fire recently and scoring big goals, Evander Kane, all of the extended parts of the core of the Edmonton Oilers are finding ways to score big goals. So I like Edmonton in 6 in this series. Jake Ottinger obviously is a very big problem. These two teams met last year and Edmonton got the better of Dallas, and we'll see how it goes. But I know that the East is kind of where we lay our hat throughout the regular season, but I'm all in on this Western final. This is where I'm going to be appointment viewing each and every night. And we hope you guys are too, following along with Locked On Oilers and Locked On Dallas Stars. Mikey, another great show, man. We'll do it again next week when these series are in full swing. Lots of talk around Leafland. So for more people can go check out Locked On Maple Leafs. Over at Locked On Senators, we're finishing up our season in reviews and getting set for our draft rankings that we do every single year. We're doing a top 50, and it begins tomorrow and will go throughout the next month as we lead up to the NHL draft on June 27th in Los Angeles. For Mike DiStefano, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, your team every day.